My phone lit up at 11 p.m. on a Friday night. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me tap the notification. The message was short, just 9 words that I had not seen in 4 years. "Barton, this is Amanda. I need to talk." My wife. Well, ex-wife. The woman I had walked away from without a single word of explanation. The woman whose betrayal had taught me that silence could be the loudest response of all. She had spent years trying to track me down, and now here she was, a ghost from a life I had carefully buried. Before we dive into what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you have ever had to walk away from someone who broke your trust, hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. Let me take you back to where it all started, to the day my world quietly fell apart. Amanda and I had been married for 3 years when everything collapsed. We met in college. She was studying marketing. I was deep into engineering courses, and we connected over terrible cafeteria, coffee, and late-night study sessions. After graduation, we settled into a small apartment in Portland, Oregon. Nothing fancy, just a 1-bedroom place with creaky floors and a view of the parking lot. But it was ours. I worked as an engineer at a small tech company downtown. The pay was decent, the work was challenging, and I enjoyed solving problems that mattered. Amanda landed a job as a marketing coordinator at a growing firm across town. We had a rhythm. I would make breakfast while she showered. We would text throughout the day, silly things, mostly memes and complaints about coworkers. Friday nights were movie nights. Saturdays we would explore farmers markets or hike Forest Park. Sundays were for meal prep and laundry, and pretending we had our lives together. We were not rich. We drove used cars and budgeted carefully, and talked about saving for a house someday. But I thought we were happy. Or maybe I just wanted to believe we were happy because the alternative was too painful to consider. Looking back now, I realize I missed the signs. Or maybe I saw them and chose to ignore them the way you ignore a small crack in the foundation, until the whole house starts to crumble. The changes started about 6 months before everything fell apart. Amanda became obsessed with her appearance, in a way she had never been before. She joined a gym and went religiously 5 days a week without fail. She bought new clothes, trendier stuff that I had never seen her wear. She started doing her makeup differently, more carefully, like she was preparing for something important every single day. Her phone became an extension of her hand. She would carry it everywhere, even to the bathroom. The screen was always face down on the table. If I walked into the room while she was texting, she would quickly switch apps or lock the screen. When I asked about it, she said work was stressing her out, that her boss was demanding and expected immediate responses. I believed her because I wanted to believe her. The late nights started around the same time. She would text me at 6 p.m., saying she had to stay late for a meeting or finish a presentation. She would come home at 9, sometimes 10, smelling like perfume and exhaustion. I would have dinner waiting. She would pick at it, say she had eaten something at the office, then retreat to the bedroom claiming she had a headache or needed space to decompress. Our intimacy disappeared like water through a sieve. Every time I tried to initiate anything, she had an excuse. Too tired, too stressed, not feeling well. Can we do this another night? That other night never came. We became roommates who shared a bed but lived in separate worlds. I told myself it was temporary, that work pressures would ease, that we would find our way back to each other. I was wrong. The day I discovered the truth was a Wednesday in late April. My company had just wrapped up a major project ahead of schedule, and my boss sent everyone home early as a thank you. I decided to surprise Amanda. I stopped at the flower shop near our apartment and bought her favorite white tulips. I picked up ingredients for her favorite meal, pasta, carbonara, something I had not made in months. I got home around 3 in the afternoon. There was a car parked in front of our building that I did not recognize, a silver sedan with California plates. I thought maybe it belonged to a new neighbor. I grabbed the flowers and the grocery bag and headed upstairs. Our apartment was on the second-floor end of the hallway. I unlocked the door as quietly as possible, wanting to preserve the element of surprise. I heard laughter coming from upstairs from our bedroom. It was Amanda's laugh, but lighter, somehow more genuine than I had heard in months. My stomach dropped. I set the groceries on the kitchen counter, still holding the flowers. I walked to the stairs. Each step felt like moving through concrete. The bedroom door was halfway open. I could see shadows moving against the wall, hear voices intimate and low. I stood in the doorway for exactly 5 seconds. Amanda was there with a man I had never seen before. They did not notice me. They were too wrapped up in each other, too lost in whatever world they had built that did not include me. I did not shout. I did not throw anything or demand an explanation. I just stood there watching my marriage end in real time, feeling something inside me shut down like a circuit breaker flipping off. Then I turned around and walked back downstairs. I placed the tulips on the kitchen table, petals already starting to droop. I picked up my car keys and left. I drove to the park along the Columbia River and sat in my car watching the water until the sun went down. My phone started ringing around 4:30. Amanda. I watched her name flash across the screen over and over. 17 missed calls by the time it got dark. Text messages piled up. Where are you? We need to talk. Please come home. I can explain. I did not read past the previews. I just sat there numb, watching the river flow and thinking about how everything I thought I knew had been a lie. The question that kept circling through my mind was not why, but how long. How long had this been going on? How many late nights were actually spent with him? How many times had she looked me in the eye and lied? I realized I did not actually want the answers. Knowing would not change anything. It would not undo the betrayal or restore what we had lost. It would just give me more images to haunt me, more details to obsess over. I checked into a cheap hotel near the airport that night. The room smelled like industrial cleaner and old carpet. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to planes take off overhead, and thought about what came next. Divorce, obviously. Lawyers and paperwork, and splitting up our meager belongings. But the idea of sitting across from Amanda, of hearing her apologies or excuses or whatever explanation she would offer, made me feel physically ill. Somewhere around 4 in the morning, clarity arrived like a sunrise. I did not want to fight. I did not want closure or confrontation or any of the messy emotional scenes that usually accompany the end of a marriage. I just wanted out. More than that, I wanted to disappear. Not in a dramatic way, not to punish her or make her worry, but simply to extract myself from the situation as cleanly as possible. Like a surgeon removing a tumor, quick and precise, minimizing damage to the surrounding tissue. The decision brought an unexpected sense of calm. I slept for 3 hours and woke up knowing exactly what I needed to do. I went to work that morning like nothing had happened. I requested 2 weeks of personal leave, citing family issues which my manager approved without questions. Then I started making calls. I found a divorce attorney through an online search, someone with good reviews, who specialized in uncontested divorces. His name was Patterson, an older gentleman with kind eyes and a gentle manner. I met him that afternoon in his small office downtown. I explained the situation, without emotion, laying out the facts like I would present data in a work meeting. I told him I did not want anything except to be legally free. I would not fight over assets or money. I just wanted it done quickly and quietly. Patterson listened without judgment. He explained Oregon's divorce laws, the mandatory waiting periods, the paperwork required. I signed everything he put in front of me and gave him a retainer check. He would serve Amanda the papers and handle all communication. I made it clear I did not want any contact with her. He understood. I went back to the apartment when I knew Amanda would be at work. It felt strange walking through rooms that had been home, knowing I would never return. I packed methodically. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop and work equipment, a few books, some photos of my parents who had passed away years earlier. I left everything we had bought together, the couch, the dishes, the TV, even the coffee maker we had received as a wedding gift. I did not want any physical reminders of what we had built together. I wrote a note and left it on the kitchen table, where she would see it immediately. 4 sentences, nothing more. Amanda, I know. I saw. This is over. My lawyer will contact you. Please do not try to find me. Barton. No accusations, no emotion, just facts. I walked out at 2 in the afternoon and did not look back. Seattle became my destination almost by default. It was close enough to make the move logistically simple, but far enough to feel like a real break. 2 hours north on Interstate 5, I found a studio apartment through Craigslist, a small place in the University District. The landlord was willing to accept the first month in cash and did not ask too many questions. I moved in that same week. Disappearing in the digital age requires intention. I changed my phone number and blocked everyone connected to Amanda on the new one. I deactivated my Facebook and Instagram accounts entirely. I kept LinkedIn for professional purposes but set it to private and removed my location. I sent a brief email to my old company explaining that I was relocating for personal reasons and would not be returning. They were understanding, even offered to write a recommendation letter for future employers. Finding work in Seattle took less than 2 weeks. The tech industry there was booming, and my experience was in demand. I interviewed at a small startup developing cloud infrastructure solutions. They made an offer the same day. The pay was actually better than what I had been making in Portland. I started the following Monday. Through Patterson, I learned that Amanda was desperately trying to find me. She had called my old number hundreds of times before I canceled the service. She showed up at my former workplace only to learn I had resigned. She sent messages through mutual friends, but I had already blocked them all. Patterson told me she had even hired a private investigator, though I had covered my tracks well enough that there was nothing to find. Amanda wanted to meet to talk, to explain herself. She told Patterson she had made a terrible mistake and needed to apologize in person. I sent my response through him. No contact. Just process the divorce. Make it as fast as legally possible. I did not want her apologies. I did not need to understand why she had done what she did. That chapter was closed. I was already writing a new one. Patterson handled everything beautifully. The divorce went through in 6 months, uncontested and unremarkable. Amanda signed the papers without resistance. I got the notification by email while sitting in a coffee shop in Seattle on a rainy October morning. Just like that, we were legally strangers. I felt nothing. No relief, no sadness, just a vague acknowledgement that a process had completed. 4 years passed, like pages turning in a book. I turned 32. My life in Seattle had solidified into something real and substantial. The startup where I worked had grown considerably. I was promoted to senior engineer, leading a small team on complex infrastructure projects. The work challenged me in ways I enjoyed, and the salary allowed me to move into a nicer apartment in Capitol Hill, a 1-bedroom with exposed brick and big windows that let in the morning light. I discovered running as a form of meditation. Every Saturday morning I would wake up early and run along the Burke-Gilman Trail, watching the city wake up around me. I joined a running club and met people who knew nothing about my past. We talked about pace and distance and proper hydration, and it was beautifully simple. I ran my first marathon that 3rd year, crossing the finish line in just under 4 hours. The sense of accomplishment felt entirely mine, untethered from anyone else. I learned to cook properly, not just basic survival meals, but actual recipes that required technique and patience. I would spend Sunday afternoons trying new dishes, making mistakes, learning from them. I took a trip to Japan by myself, spent 2 weeks exploring Tokyo and Kyoto, eating incredible food, and getting lost in translation in the best way. The following year I went to Iceland, drove the ring road alone, watched the northern lights dance across the sky, in colors I did not have words for. I dated a few people, nothing serious. Coffee dates that led to second dates, that eventually fizzled out for various reasons. I was not in a hurry. I had learned that being alone was different from being lonely, and I had made peace with my own company. The desperation that drives some people into relationship after relationship never grabbed hold of me. I figured the right person would show up when the timing was right, and until then I was content building a life I genuinely enjoyed. The wound Amanda had left healed cleanly. I did not think about her often, and when I did, it was without pain. She had become a character in a